Greetings to everybody. We are very happy to invite all of you to this Understanding Spiritual Anatomy, part of the advanced Heartful Living classes offered here from Dayton Heartfulness in US. We are grateful all of you took time to join. It is a journey together. All of us will travel, trying to understand the techniques, the principles, the method, the philosophy. Our great revered guides, our dear Daji, is trying to make us understand and instill the right habits so the true transformation can happen. The first thing that we need to ask ourselves, what is our goal? Why are we here? What is the purpose of our existence? What do we want to achieve in this lifetime that we have, along with attending to our material existence and perfecting our material wing? How can we, as human beings, give priority to what you have come to earth for? We came to earth with a purpose. Along with living the material life, there is a purpose. So, are we able to give priority to that part of our existence to bring that true transformation in each one of us? Are we able to bring the best out of ourselves? Are we able to bring the best version of ourselves into existence and live life? So if we understand the depths of the Vedas, the depths of all religious teachings, if we even go to the roots of the Veda, in the Rig Veda, the Nasadiya Sukta, the original ones, they say that the one that existed enclosed in nothingness, that was the beginning. The one that existed enclosed in nothingness. And the second statement that says is, the wise who searched deep within their heart, the wise who searched deep within their heart could discern between which is and which is not. So the wise were those who has this ability of discrimination and discernment. And where did they look for the truth? They looked for the truth in the heart to see what is and what is not. And then came our sage Patanjali, who codified this path by giving us yamas, niyamas, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, all the steps. And Revered Daji has been insisting that we all look at the yamas and niyamas carefully. What does yama do? The practice of yama removes the unwanted from our field. It is all about honesty, truthfulness, moderating our senses, and non-violence in the heart, and the attitude of non-possessiveness. And what does niyamas do? They help us integrate nobility into our being. We become noble beings with the practice of penance, meditation, and self-study. In the very beginning itself, the need for self-study is there, and contentment and purity. And finally, which is known as Iswari Paridaran. That is surrender to God. I may not be saying the Sanskrit word correctly, but it is surrendering to divinity itself. That includes the niyamas. So we need to imbibe all these qualities into our being so we can actually reach the goal. So what is the goal? How does Babaji Maharaj describe this goal as? He talks about this in his words. he talks about goal as a state of being of total insignificance, total humility, and absolute love and politeness. This is, if at all he could give a description of the quality of this absolute state, he states it has no qualities, it has nothing in it. But to enter this state of being, a human being needs to arrive at the state of insignificance, humbleness, politeness, and a heart completely drowned in love. In his Whispers from the Brighter World, Revered Babuji's tone is like how a string holds the pearls. The entire whispers are held by a couple of concepts. The main is love. And the second word he uses is cultivation. We have to cultivate our inner being, inner field, and prepare it. And the third word he uses is perseverance. He says, with steadfastness and perseverance in practice, everything is obtained. Everything is obtained with perseverance and steadfastness in practice. So it all bottoms down to us practicing the practice. That is where the discipline is needed. And also Babuji Maharaj goes on to saying that the art of living consists in ensuring that the flow of dhara, the love, does not get distracted by the worldly pulse. So as an aspirant, as a seeker, we have a lot to work upon ourselves. Somehow we were under the myth that as long as I start a spiritual practice, the Guru will take me. And we assume that we have surrendered to the Guru and he will take. But what is a true state of surrender? None of us have an idea. Because to arrive at this state of this total surrender to divinity requires an inner transformation. And Babuji Maharaj's discovery of the heart region, the mind region, and the central region, as we traverse through them, arriving at this human perfection. And in his teachings, Revered Daji has very clearly stated, and all the masters have stated this, that this character formation is our job and spiritual progress is their job. So as aspirants, seekers of spirituality, did we truly understand what is this character formation is all about? How do we change our character? How do we purify our character? How do we dive into our heart to arrive at the states of honesty and truth and moderation of our senses and non-violence, and our heart being filled with love and this idea of non-possessiveness and being in a state of contentment and purity and in a state of surrender? How can we arrive at these states? The help of the masters is given as transmission, as them bestowing seeds, planting seeds into our field. But those seeds need to flower, and they will flower only when there is a proper environment in our hearts. So that is the job of a seeker, is to create this environment, the environment as we call it. We need to create it inside ourselves, and that is the true character formation. So for that, knowledge is needed. That is why the great masters insist on Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Raja Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. All the yogas combined together will take us forward. So in this class, we are trying to understand, we have to acquire the knowledge so we know what we need to do to arrive at this state of absolute discernment, which will help us move forward. And that is what we are trying to do. And the great masters have given us many techniques for this transformation of our inner being. Are we truly practicing these techniques? Did we understand the basics of these techniques? We are simply trying to pass the buck to somebody else. We want a trainer to do things for us. We want the guru to do things for us. We want somebody else to do things for us. But this is a journey of ourselves. In this journey, it is we who have to participate actively. And this active participation in our own transformation is what discrimination is all about, what clarity is all about. So let us pursue this journey. And in this coming series of 5 or 6 classes, we will try to understand how it looks, the inner journey looks like, what is our role, what can we do to help ourselves, what can we do to make the seeds that the master has sown in us to germinate, so we arrive at this final goal of total insignificance. And what are on the paths? What are the pitfalls? What do we need to look at? Can we take time to give priority to what we came to earth for? Can we have this steadfastness and perseverance? That is what the question is. We need to look into ourselves to see what our goal is, and take a moment to write inside yourself what your goal is. And let us see this, if these techniques will help us. And finally, it is only the grace of the great elder on the earth's plane, our great master, revered Dajis. It's his work that will make us move forward. But it is our job to draw the attention of the guide towards ourselves. And what draws the attention of the guide towards a seeker? Your inner state of being that is shining in brightness. That is what they look at. So that is why all these efforts are to illuminate our inner being. So let us try and understand this session. In one of his whispers that was given on Thursday, April 26, 2001, 8 a.m., Revered Babuji talks about this concept, because Mother Helene was feeling that she truly wants to serve. And Babuji gives the clarification. To be in service in our way means primarily to do one's practice correctly. So real service is practicing correctly. To work for oneself is to work for the multitude. We will simply say that all harmonious vibrations emanating from a heart in meditation, as well as thoughts of love and all that elevate your thoughts, they benefit all our brothers and sisters. It is a well-established rule. This rule is well established. And look at the little time that we take in meditation can affect the entire world. Think of the multitude of beings who meditate every day, devoting time to this practice, and who pray for the good of humanity. This egregore is powerful. It constitutes a power that neutralizes the effects of another power, a negative one. And that is what the goal of the great elders is. When they are encouraging us to meditate day after day after day, we are creating a powerful vibratory field which will negate the negative one and thereby bring the true transformation in the earthly plane. That is how your practice elevates you while contributing to a noble cause. You are collectively and individually beacons illuminating the darkness like the stars in a dark sky. Is there anything more beautiful than this sight, delighting man's heart? It shows him the infinite greatness of the divine creation, Babuji. So the whole idea is serving ourselves is how we serve the great elders. what is this spiritual journey about? When we come into this world, we come, all our thoughts and actions are recorded. We all know that. And all the thoughts and actions of all lifetimes is known as Sanchita Karma. That is our bank account that we take with us. It is a total sum of all the good and bad, known as karma phalas of all lives. It's our asset. That is why we have to live life. The great master is observing us. That way we watch our thoughts, we watch our actions. Because everything is recorded in the Akashic records. And that is the truth. Whether we like to accept it or not, that is the truth. And this Sanchita Karma, out of this entire bank account of our good and bad actions, we bring a part of that, because we cannot go through the entire karma in one lifetime. That is why we take birth. We bring a part of it into this lifetime, which is known as the prarabdha karma. And it includes both good and bad. We go through everything. And during this lifetime, along with going through what we have brought into our life from the past, we also create new karma by performing in life. And that also gets added, a part of it gets added to what we have to go through in this lifetime. And a part of it, we probably have to take it back. But in between, there is a part known as Agami Karma. And that is our ability to bring about positive or negative futures outcomes by a current decision or action. And here is where heartfulness plays a role. The great masters play a role in our life, because it is against nature to burn the samskaras, to release the samskaras. But entire heartfulness is based on this concept where the great master, with his spiritual capacity, releases us from a part of this suffering, releases our samskaras. We are releasing the samskaras with our day-to-day cleansing. And we are helping ourselves by relieving the samskaras with the transmission that emanates from the guide's field, the living guide's field, entering into our field and releasing us from those samskaras. All that falls under this Agami Karma, changing our future. And that is why revered Babuji, revered Daji, Swami Vivekananda, all these great masters were able to say that we can design our destiny, because those masters have the ability to transform this, to release us from this karma. And how do they do that? Chitlake is an area where all our karmas are floating as thoughts before they come into fruition. It descends from our bank account into this area, and the flow is diverted towards the heart. And this flow has no tendency to rise upward. And this flow is automatic. And this is where Master intervenes, the guide, the living guide of the Heartfulness Institute, who is the only Mahaparishad. One personality is always there on the earth plane, who has this immense capacity. Not every guide has this capacity. Not to insult any other great teachers that are on the earth plane right now, but nature's law is what one can do, they won't send 10. If one master of a caliber is on the earth plane, rest of them are playing their role at different levels. But there is always one great master that takes care of humanity on the earth plane. That's how nature works. Minimum input, maximum output. That is how nature works. So the master of the caliber, what he does is he diverts this Chitta lake flow into the Atma Chakra. And Atma Chakra is the second point, which is here on the right side of our chest. 3.5 fingers below the right nipple is your Atma Chakra, the soul point. And the samskaras are the flow of this Chitlek is diverted towards the Atma Chakra, where it gets burnt. Otherwise, our thought flow is continuously flowing towards, a part of it flowing towards point A, and part of it flowing towards point 1, which is towards the lower consciousness. And this is all going towards the earth. The pull of the world is there. So that is why a lot of times people don't even have the inclination to meditate or think about God, because their thought flow is continuously flowing to the external world. And that is where the guide's first help comes. The moment with the 3 meditation sessions we receive, this thought flow, a part of it is diverted towards the soul, where we start to think about divinity. And now this process allows the samskaras to be burnt. So this is how the Chitlek current is flowing. Chitlek is where the thoughts are all floating and the flow is inclined downwards with no tendency to rise upwards, unless the master's power becomes instrumental in this respect to divert the flow. And as this current descends into the heart through the pharyngeal plexus, where cosmic and paracosmic meet, it divides into 3 currents, one flowing into point A, and one entering the lower region of the heart, the lower consciousness, and one towards the right side of the soul. And how do this flow happening? It's going into the external world. As we are living life in this external world, the suffering is going as sensual feelings, sufferings of the material world in so many ways. But as we are living life, these vibrations, as we live life, thoughts and actions, creating vibrations, enter into our heart's field, and they're entering from this location of point C. We will learn about the exact locations in the upcoming slides. And from here, depending on the likes and the dislikes, if there is a lot of passion, this is the entry point. And if there is a lot of passion, emotional, it goes into point B. If there is a lot of material worries, it goes into point A. And depending on if you have too much anger, it goes into point 3. If you have too much fear, it goes to point 4. So all this distribution of the vibrations happen as we live life. That is how karma is forming for us. And a part of this karma that we brought, we are going through as life. So all this is a process. And how do we manage all this? First thing is, we have to fix our goal to be one with the absolute. The goal is this insignificant state. Oneness with the absolute is coming to that state of absolute insignificance. Second thing is, we have to have a method, right method to arrive at this goal. And the third thing is, we have to practice the method until and unless with steadfastness and persistence, with love for the goal we practice, we cannot move an inch. And the final thing is, we have to have the living guide, which is of paramount importance to take us to the goal. That is why Shankaracharya said that to be born as a human being is a blessing. And to recognize your goal is another blessing. And to have a guide, to find the right guide, is the ultimate blessing. And so without the guide, there is no progress. But as we go through this class, we understand the first part of our journey is the heart region, where we have to master the 5 chakras in the heart region. And for that, more than the guide, it is our effort that is required in the heart region. So the heart region consists of the first 5 points. Point 1, which is 3.5 fingers below your left nipple. Point 2, 3.5 fingers below your right nipple. Point 1 is the earth point. Point 2 is the ether point. And point 3 is the fire point, 3.5 fingers above your left nipple. And point 4 is the fire point, 3.5 fingers above your right nipple. And in between, near the pharyngeal plexus, is the 5th point, which is the air point. So earth, ether, fire, water, air. What are these? These are the elements. So in the spiritual anatomy, just like in the physical body, we have several organs, and all those organs need to function properly for the body to function properly. So we have to understand we have an energy body. In this energy body, the organs are all these chakras. And these chakras have the characteristic of all the elements. And when the elements are not in balance, we lose our balance. So the entire journey seems to be trying to keep these elements in balance at each point, and at each point, bringing that point to the state of absolute. That seems to be our journey. And that is what is getting affected, where we are losing balance. So in the mind region, we have the points from point 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. The central region is the 13th point. And all this is revered Babaji Maharaj's discovery. So now as we enter the heart region, in the heart region, it is all about dualities. There is always dualities. In the cosmic region, there is no dualities. That is the main difference. The only duality there that we struggle in the cosmic region is you and the Lord, His presence and your presence, because the cosmic region is about ego. As we annihilate our ego, we don't exist and His presence becomes dominant. Only He exists. You realize you are nothing, He is everything. So in the heart region, the dualities are at the first point, it is all about balance and imbalance. So when the first point is not in balance, we don't feel stable. There is no steadiness. There is no centeredness in us. So as a human being, to live a balanced life, this point needs to continuously be in a state of balance. That is the first purpose meditation achieves for us, is that we first become centered beings. That is why anybody that joins the heartfulness method or the heartfulness way, they don't have to have the final goal in view. They may just begin with the idea that they want to become balanced, they want to be peaceful. And if they're simply just meditating, and even if they just do the practice simply, minimum thing that we acquire is balancing this earth element. That is why we feel some peace, we feel some balance. But as this state gets imbibed in us, automatically our heart recognizes, oh, there is more. I need to achieve more. And then we move towards peace. And then we move towards love. Then we move towards courage and clarity. The next gate appears to us when we master the first gate. That is why our great masters never say, oh, this is the goal, you need to arrive at this. They begin with, first become centered beings, become balanced beings, practice the meditation, do the cleansing, do the bedtime prayer. All this, what does it create? It only creates a balance inside ourselves. It helps us to master the first element. So this is the heart region, where at the earth point, we can achieve balance, move away from imbalance. At the ether point, we can achieve peace and move away from discontent. At the fire point, we can come to the state of true love and move away from the weakness of anger, utilize the field of anger for an ascension of love. And at the fourth point, water point, we can let go of fear and move into the field of courage. This is what the great masters talk about. We want lions in the field to move forward. Only that being which has the courage in it can take the journey of the further regions. And once we master the fifth point, we have clarity. And only when we arrive at the state of clarity, we master the heart region, we have the real wisdom, we are not bound by illusion, and so we recognize the need for the Guru. Until then, the guide is just very much in the background. He's not directly in our lives. But when this clarity happens, the being comes to realization that I cannot even move further without the guide holding my hand. I cannot move anywhere. And when that realization happens, the true journey of the cosmos begins in ourselves. So, but this journey of the heart, we have to do it ourselves. We have to practice. So at the first point, we want to understand what is this inner anatomy? What are these elements? Where are these elements? Even in the natural order, we have thunders and we have rain and we have heat, and all this is happening in the external world. And when they lose balance, there is catastrophes on the earth plane in the external world. So also when these elements lose balance in our inner being, there is catastrophe in our inner being. When there is catastrophe in the earth element, by continuously we are receiving vibrations from the external world, acting impulsively, reacting to things. We are creating vibrations, angers, hatreds, jealousies, greeds. All this, when it enters into our field through this point C, it disturbs our inner balance. It disturbs our earth element. And in the earth element, the first point, the configuration is at the center. The element itself is predominant with earth. The first dimension is the earth dimension. And only when we master this dimension, we move to the next dimension of the ether. But in this earth element, the other elements also exist. Everything coexists, but in a small way, Daji says. So at 12 o'clock position, he says, the second point, the ether element is there in the earth itself. At 3 o'clock position, we find the fire element. At 6 o'clock position, we find the water element. At 9 o'clock position, we find the air element. These colors are given because these are the colors, the natural colors of these elements. And when we are meditating, a lot of times when we observe colors, it is because of this. And as we meditate at each point thoroughly, we will be able to master this element, master this chakra, and bring ourselves to a state of balance. That is how the balance happens in us, and that is how we master each chakra. We have to journey through each chakra. There is a rotation going on here. The rotation at point 1 is going clockwise. It is all vibration. Everything is particles. Everything is vibrations. So this is how the first point is. And what are the characteristics of this first point? It is the element, main element is earth. The color is yellow. And the location is in the lower left side, 3.5 fingers down from your left nipple. What are the qualities that you acquire once you meditate thoroughly at this point? Is you acquire the qualities of the earth. We wrote some of the qualities here, but if you deeply look into yourself, if you look at Mother Earth and understand Mother Earth, it is bearing oceans on it. It has forests in it. People step on Mother. People burn the houses, burn the trees. So much is happening, and she is simply witnessing, allowing everything to happen. And the tradition says when the heaviness of the earth increases because of the humans living on the earth, doing evil things with negative thoughts, when it becomes unbearable, Mother Earth prays to the ultimate, help me. And then a great personality arrives into the earth plane with all his powers and tries to bring the humans to a state of balance so earth can at least continue to exist. If the masters don't come to the earth plane, changing human beings, earth itself will lose its balance. That's how much we are polluting the earth. That is why conscious living is of paramount importance. That is why we have to give priority to what we came to this earth for. We have to be aware. We have to be cautious. And so what are these qualities once we master this point? Is we acquire the quality of the balance that Mother Earth has. We acquire the quality of patience. We acquire the quality of tolerance. We acquire the quality of acceptance, because she accepts everything that's happening, and the quality of forbearance and non-judgment. That is what happens to us when we actually master the first element, the earth element. And on the contrary, if we don't do anything with the spirituality, what is happening? We become imbalanced beings. We see that all around us. People filled with desire, jealousy, greed, selfishness, sensuality, anger. This is the lot of ordinary human beings. And in this point, there are several subpoints, energy fields. These are all energy fields. And the subpoints are A, B, C, D. And we will learn about them as we go through this. And what are the points that are similar to point 1 or point 6 and 11 that have the same configuration? What is the configuration? Its earth is the base, at 12 o'clock is the ether, 3 o'clock is the fire, 6 o'clock is water, 9 o'clock is air. That configuration is the same for point 6 and 11. And this earth element is connected with the Annamaya Kosha, the physical sheath. Because in this anatomy, we have the points, the chakras, we have the sheaths in the heart region. And we need to master the chakras. We need to also master very subtly, silently, the koshas too, the energy sheaths, because they affect our being, they affect our journey. Because Babaji Maharaj says, for a true saint, the fourth kosha, which is Manomaya kosha, is broken. So there is no attachment towards this external world. Those are the saints where their koshas are broken. What does that broken means? They have mastered it. It has become one with the absolute. So what is mastery of the point 1 is? This point 1 comes to the state of absolute balance, akin to that ultimate state of nothingness. That is when we truly have mastered it. But even as we begin mastering it, we see the results of this balance and patience in us. So the same anatomy exists at point 1, 6, and 11. And these subpoints that exist in point 1, point A is a meditative point. It is a vibratory field that is directly connected to the source. That is why when we are practicing techniques in heartfulness, we make the intentions at point A. Even though the heartbeat is more towards the left, these are vibratory fields. It is not just a point, one point that it is only located here. The location is 1 finger down from the center of the sternum, going 4 fingers in is point B, 2 fingers is point A. Even though they are giving us a pinpointed location, it is a vibratory field. It is not a pinpoint. So when we are making these intentions at the heartbeat at point A, that may such and such thing happen, real love, real faith, real devotion is happening in me and also in my brothers and sisters. Correct thinking, right understanding, honest approach to life is happening in me as well, my brothers and sisters. This field is connected directly to the source. So the thought that we make here is sent to the soul, and the soul vibrates it back. And that's how we create our neural paths. So we will come to that slide later on. So point A is a very powerful meditative field where we make intentions to bring about change in our characters. And then we have point B, where all the lower tendencies of the human being are stored. They are in the form of seed. And in our practices, when we do our point B cleaning, we try to release this field by making an intention, thought backed by intention. In heartfulness, if you look at the spiritual work, entire practice is about making an intention, thought backed by an intention with will, what makes things happen. So this point B is where we react to the opposite, to the attraction towards the opposite sex. Vibrations entering from point C, they move to point B, and they arouse a feeling of passion. And by cleaning this point B, we master the senses. We become devoid of sensual things. that bring about the personal transformation. And that is why we also make these intentions of my senses are coming to a balance. We need to bring not only the chakras, not only the koshas. With the practice, we need to bring our senses to a state of balance. Finally, our senses have to become so silent that there is no undue attachment towards anybody, not even to the Guru. That state has to arrive. And that can only happen if we do this point B cleaning. Otherwise, we are succumbed to the lower weaknesses of anger, hatred, jealousy, greed, all this. And point C is the entry point for vibration, when we react to things with like or dislike from the earthly plane, and those vibrations enter at point C. And depending on the nature of the vibration, if it is about sexual attraction, it affects point B. If it is worldly worries, they go to point A. If it is a lot of guilt, it goes to point D. A lot of anger, it moves to point 3. It's like this is like a distribution point. So that is why we need to watch this point C with remembrance. Remembrance is the God. The guide becomes the God at point C. And point D is the point of guilt. These points C and D are the discoveries of revered Daji. And guilt can only be removed with repentance. It is the heaviest samskara. Heaviest impression is the guilt. Even the guilt that we came to this world to achieve the goal and we don't forms an impression here. So all these need to be worked upon to master the first point itself. And until and unless we arrive at this steadfastness and perseverance and regularity in practice, we can't even move from point 1. It is not enough that we just receive the transmission from the Guru, attend the satsangs. That is not enough. What all happens is the masters, like parents putting money into children's account, into an estate, and making the thought, when my child arrives at that age of 25, 27, when they are mature, they can access these funds. Isn't that what every good parent does? That is what the great guides do. They transmit and they put as a deposit for us. But until and unless we arrive at that age of 21 or 24, we can't claim it. In spirituality, until we cross this heart region, we can't claim the conditions that the master has put into us. This is our journey. This is our job. So at point 2, the center is the entire point, is ether point. But at 12 o'clock is the next point, which is the fire point. 3 o'clock is the next point, water point. 6 o'clock is the next point, air point. 9 o'clock is the next point, which is the earth point, because it is still rotating in these 5 elements in the heart. So the next point is the earth. And here, if you observe, you will observe that the vibrations are moving anti-clockwise. And the color of this is red. You will see glimpses of red when you are meditating. And element is ether, color is red, its location is lower right side of your chest. Here you will experience peace, love, and contentment. Think about ether. Ether is just flying away. It is not here. It is space. And that is why in space, there is peace. And the negative qualities of it is restlessness, hatred, discontent. That is why we have to arrive at the state of, with the yamas and niyamas, you need to arrive at purity and contentment. And if those 2 qualities are not there in us, we haven't really mastered. We may traverse through it. Master gives us Akasi way of experiences where we experience peace, we experience contentment. But if it is not stable and continuous within our being, we haven't truly mastered. And until and unless we master, remember this, engrave it on our hearts. Until and unless we master point 1 and point 2, we haven't found the base to move forward. We keep falling down. So these 2 have to be perfected thoroughly. So if possible, we should do this journey as many times as possible. And the similarities of this is point 7 and 12 have the same qualities. And this sheath is connected with the Anandamaya Kosha, bliss sheath. Because here we feel the glimpses of bliss. And the anatomy is the same as 2, 7, and 12. We will send out the PowerPoint so you can study. At the third point, in the center is the fire element. The color is white. At 12 o'clock is the next point, water point. At 3 o'clock is the next point, air point, color is green. At the following point is 6 o'clock position is earth, and 9 o'clock position is ether. And the rotation here is clockwise. Here it is on the upper left side, and the quality is emotional stability and intense love. Unless we master this point 3, we cannot experience true love. Here, love gets transformed. The love becomes a field of ascension towards the cosmic region. So to master this is of utmost importance. And Revered Daji himself has said that he stayed in this point for a long time. And if we observe, because he's a master, his ability to love all equally was his requirement of the masterhood. And that's probably why he stayed here for a long time. Because some of us wonder why he's the master. Why did he stay here this long? The great elders from above had to stabilize him so much, because it is not easy. We're not able to love our own spouse. Not even our own brothers and sisters, our own brothers, blood brothers and sisters. We can't love truly. How will we develop this universal love of loving all? So mastering this point will give us a glimpse of that true love. And if this point is not mastered, we suffer from anger and instability. And similar point is point 8. And this is the Pranamaya Kosha, energy sheath. And that is why when we are angry and emotionally unstable, we deplete our Pranamaya Kosha, we deplete our energy, and we feel weak. And it has the same anatomy as 3 and 8 have the same anatomy. And at point 4, we understand center is the water point. 12 o'clock is air. 3 o'clock is earth. 6 o'clock is ether. 9 o'clock is fire. And rotation is anti-clockwise. And here we experience courage and fear. And it is connected to Manomaya Kosha. Similarities with 9th point. And once we master this, here in this field, Revered Daji says, humility will have to be at the back door and courage at the front door. Courage doesn't mean it is filled with ego that we can go kill anybody and everybody. True courage is when it is backed by ultimate humility. And here is the beginning of our journey, because until and unless we have a glimpse of that humility, we won't even have an idea of our goal, what is absolute insignificance. And this is the same anatomy as 4 and 9. And at 5th point, finally, it's the air element. 12 o'clock is earth, 3 o'clock is ether, 6 o'clock is fire, 9 o'clock is water. And even though rotation is anti-clockwise, Revered Daji said at times it could go both ways. And this is for us to observe. And this element, until and unless we cross this 5th point and we master this 5th point, we are not eligible for the cosmic region. And to move into the cosmic region, when we master all the 5 points, we truly become human beings. We acquire the qualities of humanness, and we come to this quality of immense generosity and compassion. And without this immense generosity, we do not deserve to enter the cosmic region. And without mastering the thought being pure, we cannot sustain the journey of the cosmic region. So thought and word have to become purified. And only when we master these elements, each one of them, this state of being happens in us. And so this 5th point is about air, green, clarity, negative side is illusion, similarity is point 10, and it's connected with the wisdom sheath. And once wisdom dawns in the human being, in us, then we become true human beings. And it has the same anatomy as 5 and 10th point have the same anatomy. So inside our anatomy, this is how it looks. This is how all the energy fields are. We have all the vestibules. That is why Revered Daji insists on the relaxation technique. As we are doing the relaxation technique, all these vestibules that are listed as 1, 2, until 14, all these gets released, and vestibules are released. They are like your pipes. When your pipes are clogged in the house, there is no circulation. Your AC doesn't flow, your heating doesn't flow. When these are clogged, even the master can transmit to us and start cleaning us. It cannot come out of our system. So this relaxation is very, very important. Even Babuji talks about this in his whispers, how relaxation, taking that 5-7 minutes to relax our body completely and arrive at that state of being of meditation with the right intentions is very, very important. So, and we have in our anatomy the koshas, the 5 koshas. The first is the Annamaya kosha, which is the physical sheath. It's an energy sheath, and it is connected with the earth element, and it affects our physical body. What we eat, it affects, and thereby what we eat affects the subtle body also, our consciousness. And the next is the Pranamaya kosha, which is the energy sheath connected with the fire element, and it affects our subtle body, our ego, and our consciousness. And the next one is the mental sheath, the Manomaya kosha, which is the water element and the black color, and it affects the subtle body, the mind, and the consciousness, because it affects our thinking. And through thinking, it affects our consciousness. And the next one is the Vijnanamaya kosha, wisdom sheath, which is the air element, color is green, affects our subtle body, intellect, and consciousness. And Anandamaya kosha is the bliss sheath, and it affects the space. It has the quality of the space, and it affects our causal body and the subtle body. All these we will go through in depth in the koshas class that will be starting, and that will be taught by our brother Bhavani, and he will be able to go into depth of these. And these are the 5 koshas surrounding the soul. And when all these are clogged, you can touch your soul. You can't feel the soul. The absolute state is not felt by us. So that is the reason these sheets were broken in all the sages. All these sheets, Babuji came without all these sheets. He came in the pure state of being. So how are these sheets in reality? Each element, the quality of the Annamaya kosha is earth. So all the earths in every chakra is connected, creating a vibratory field. So this is a vibratory field. It's an energy sheath. And each element in Annamaya kosha, all the earth element of the first point connected to the earth in 2, earth in 3, earth in 4, earth in 5, creating the kosha. So in the Anandamaya kosha, the ether element is predominant. So ether in each chakra is connected, creating a path. In fire element, the fire element in each chakra is connected, creating a path. In the Manomaya kosha, the water element, the water in each element, each chakra is connected, creating a path. And the same thing, air in each element is connected, creating the path of the Vijnanamaya kosha. So this is how these sheets inside us are, like how in your physical body, the ribs holding the heart, our intestines, how everything is there. This is how these energy sheets are also in our subtle body. And we need to clear all of them, break all of them, master each chakra, and make the path clear so the ascension can happen. So in tradition, this is how they describe the sheets, but in reality, this is how they look. And the entire journey is, we already understood, is about expansion of consciousness. And what is this expansion of consciousness? This is our physical body. And in our consciousness, when we are meditating regularly, when we are mastering each chakra, what gets affected is the subtle body, where the mind and the intellect and the ego are refined. And when this refinement happens, this energy body, the subtle body, comes to that state of absolute balance. And that happens when the chakras and the sheets Everything is refined. And that is what spiritual growth is about, this refinement. So Revered Daji says, how does this subtle body transformation happen? Thinking evolves to feeling, intellect becomes wisdom, ego is refined to humility. And when ego is refined to humility, this insignificance begins. And that is when our consciousness evolves into divine consciousness, where real love is manifested. And this vibration of love is what the transmission is that we receive. And these are the stages of evolution. The first 5 circles are the first 5 chakras. These are the stages of Maya that is encircled in the heart region. And that is what we are trying to master. Because without mastering the heart region, by our self-efforts, progress is not possible. And when we master this, we move on to the cosmic region where it is all ego, the 11 circles of ego. Then we move into the 7 rings of splendor of the central region, moving towards the Bhuma, the center, and that is our hope. And in the heart region, it is the first points from 1 to 5. Cosmic region consists of 6 and 7, which is known as Brahmanda Mandal. And the paracosmic is Parabrahmanda Mandal 7 to 8. Then the region of surrender, which is Prapanna 0.8. And region of transition 0.9, which is Prapanna Prabhu, where surrender needs to completely purify, come to fruition, and creating the state of nearness to divinity, which is Prabhu, encompassing 10, 11, and 12 points. And the central region is the 13th point. All our daily practices should lead us towards these stages. One thing that we want to perfect this week is to meditate correctly, thoroughly. Without meditating thoroughly and correctly, we cannot arrive at this meditative state and master the elements. For this, our steps are: first, find a separate place, meditate at the same time. Revered Daji says, take a bath before morning meditation. Purity of the body and the mind are important. And keep your posture comfortable and your spine erect. And begin with relaxation. And then come into enter your sacred heart. The vibration of the sacredness is in the heart. And locate the point B and release those impurities. And suggest your heart is filled with love. And from this place, arrive at a state of humility, fixing your goal and offering the prayer, knowing, accepting the weaknesses of desires. And connect your heart to the cosmic heart of the living guide. And pray that the transmission flows and you resonate with that transmission. So follow these steps when you are meditating. And we all know point B. The location is 1 finger down from the center, going 4 fingers inward. You make the intention before morning meditation. All the impurities are leaving from point B as smoke. And as this is happening, the soul is glowing in brightness. Without cleaning the point B, there is no progress. It is not possible to progress. And this is how the visual is given, so we all understand. And we have to perfect the state of prayer before morning meditation. That first 5-10 minutes of our meditation is very profound. My heart is connected to the cosmic heart of the guide. It's filled with love. I long to be one with him. That is the prayer. Oh Master, thou art the real goal of human life. We are but slaves of our wishes, putting bar to our advancement. Thou art the only God and power to bring us up to that state. So we make the intention, the light is within. And after the meditation, when our state of being is very calm, we make the intentions at point A. And those intentions manifest. So you make the intention, this day is unfolding in the highest good. I am flowing through this day, accepting everything with love, joy, and gratitude. And remembrance. How do we maintain our condition? Is we observe this point C and make the great master, the God there. And during the day, we are in a meditative state with the suggestion that I'm absorbed in the the source, and everything around me, animate and inanimate, is absorbed in the same source. And we all know our regular cleansing technique that we do. In this, one important aspect is to begin the cleansing technique with this intention that from the top of the head to the bottom of the spine, all the impurities are leaving from there, because there is pores, that is the spinal cord. All the chakras are there. Babuji discovered the chakras in the front, in the heart. So the journey of the soul becomes easy. But they are chakras in the spinal cord, which are connected. Everything inside is connected. So until we initiate this thought that the impurities are leaving from the back as smoke and vapor, it does not happen. So thought backed by will. And we have our universal prayer, where at point A, again, point A is the most powerful vibratory field. Whatever we intend there manifests. And the prayer is already given to all of us. And one important point I want to talk about is this power of suggestion that works miracles at point A. The power of the suggestion emanating from the brain, that vibration enters into the causal body or pure self. And the nature of causal body is it gives out. Whatever you give, it gives it 10 times back. You put a negative thought, it gives 10 times back. That is why we insist on positive thought, positiveness. So when we give positive suggestions at point A with our own thought to the causal body, to our own self, then the causal body gives it back to our brain, creating proper neural pathways. That's how our thinking changes. So make positive affirmations to bring them to life, to bring this transformation in us. And all the intentions that we make at point A are these, that all the divine qualities are coming to me from my guide. Everybody feels their brothers and sisters, and my thought is one. This idea of correct thinking, right understanding, and honest approach to life is developing in me and everybody. And the true seekers are coming to benefit from the presence of the guide and his transmission. Why? Come move forward. Until and unless we take one more person forward, we cannot move forward. And the ultimate thing is this repentance at bedtime. We have to take time to come into our heart, to look at our heart of that particular day, if anything we have done, that we ask for forgiveness. So, because this is the heaviest samskara, and if we do not ask for forgiveness, we cannot move forward. You know, there is a quote that I read somewhere recently, I don't remember. It says that you can burn the churches, you can burn the mosques, you can burn the temples, but the sin that you accumulate when you hurt a heart cannot be reversed. You don't accumulate sin if you burn the temple or the church or the mosque. But if you hurt a heart, you will accumulate the sin, because there is God in that heart. So repentance becomes absolute importance. And nobody else can repent for you. Your guide cannot repent for you. The transmission cannot enter this place to clean point D. The only solution is repentance. And finally, we write down in our journey, in our journal, to communicate to the guide. Our only communication through the guide is through this journal, where we submit our heart. And this journal writing can do miracles for us, because it truly, when the thought is focused, it is touched by the Guru's heart. It touches the Guru's heart and they respond. And there are several personal examples that I have, that we know when we write something in the diary, it is received by the master. So practice these techniques. So what does it bringing us to today? We understood the importance of practice. Most of us who are here, we already know all these techniques, but we are refreshing it. So this week, it is our homework to practice all these, imbibe all these techniques this week with the discipline, steadfastness, and perseverance. Write them on your diary, perseverance. And then observe yourself. And journal writing is absolute importance. I cannot insist on this enough because that is my weakness. But in the past 2 years, I mastered it a little bit. Because I remember I like to share one little incident about journal writing before I begin the sitting. And in these next six sessions, it is about trying different techniques. We are going to experiment. We're going to tell you what we're going to do in the sitting, so you observe it yourself. We will try different new techniques. Be open. Be open to trying all these techniques and see how they help you. Do not depend on the master. Do not depend on the prefects or trainers to do the work on you. Think about it. Who loves you so much that they will try all the techniques on you? How much time each individual has? We don't even have time to do our own practice. Become self-reliant. Depend on yourself. Do the techniques for yourself and see how they are working. That is the only solution. And regarding journal writing, I remember in 1987, one of our brothers and we were all living together. We were young. We were sharing apartments. And, he wrote a letter to Daji Chariji about whatever his problems were. And just before he was mailing the letter, he got a call from India. His father was not well. So he left the letter in the diary and he went to India. After everything was taken care, he went to see Chariji. And as soon as Chariji saw him, he said, "Oh, I got your letter and the problem that you was discussing." And he started to talk about it. And this guy was thinking, "Oh, did I mail the letter? I thought I didn't have time to mail the letter." But anyway, he's talking so much about every part of that letter. This guy thought, "Oh, I must have mailed the letter." Then when he came back home, something was bothering him. So he opened his diary and there was the letter, unmailed letter. So when we write down in the diary, our thought is focused. We are communicating to the guide, the living guide. The living guide is the one who receives your messages. He's on the same vibratory field as we are. He resonates with us. And from him, it flows on like the electricity flowing. So we have to remember that. And there was another time that, we always tell Abhyasis to write in your diary, write in your diary. And one of our American Abhyasis here, she was writing in her diary. And when first time she came to India to see Chariji, we went to see him and, we introduced Chariji, this is so-and-so. "Oh, I received many letters from you." And she says, "No, Chariji, I never wrote a letter to you. This is the first time I'm meeting you." No, I received many letters from you." And we were confused, who wants to argue with the 80-year-old master? You don't want, you just accept. So we come back to our apartments and Garden of Hearts, whatever. And suddenly this lady realizes, "Oh my God, every night in my diary, I wrote down, 'Dear Chariji, this is what I'm suffering with.' Because I said I'm supposed to write in my diary. I wrote in my diary. And it's easy to write when you're writing to the guide. The message is received." So the techniques of heartfulness, each and every technique, I'm just giving you one example of the diary writing, but each and every technique is filled with power, filled with potency, filled with the potential of transformation of the human being to this absolute ultimate state. Are we utilizing it? So this class is designed to inspire each one of us to take the practice, to take the techniques, to take the method, to take the presence of the master and utilize it, so we truly arrive at this state of nothingness, absolute nothingness. So even though this first class, we had to review all our techniques, it is a good review to remember how powerful these techniques are. So now we will have a short sitting. I'm not going to tell this time what technique I'm going to use, but I want you to observe your thoughts, the flow of your thoughts, and where they are flowing, which direction they are flowing, and see for yourself and write it down in your diary. Oh, this technique is being worked on. That is the only way you develop sensitivity, is by observation. Next week, we will listen to a little clip of Revered Daji, where he talks about how to actually practice this AEIOU, and we will do that. So let us now meditate for a short time and with a particular technique. Next week onwards, I will tell you what technique we are working each week, so you can observe. But this week, I like to see if people are observing the sitting. So give me 1 second and we will start the sitting. So as we give commands, take every command to your heart. Because when we say relax your toes, pay attention to your body. Your body is your vehicle. So let us take care of our body, then we move into our heart. Close your eyes softly. Take a deep breath and let go. Feel grounded to the earth. Feel the earth's energy enter into your being. And begin with relaxing your toes. Feel the energy flow into your feet. Relax your feet. Feel the energy flow into your ankles, into your legs. Be aware of your legs. Relax your legs. Take another deep breath and let go. Feel the energy flow into your knees, into your thighs, into your hips. Feel firmly grounded in the seat. This grounding is important. Feel the free flow of energy flowing there, relaxing you. Take another deep breath and let go. Feel the energy flow into your lower back. Relax your lower back. Feel it flow into your upper back. Relax your upper back. Keeping your spine erect. Bring your awareness to your stomach muscles. Feel the energy flow there. Take a deep breath and let go. Feel the energy flow into your chest. Relax your chest. Bring your awareness to your fingers. Feel the energy in your fingers. Relax your fingers. Let the energy flow through your palm, flowing into your wrists. Feel it in your arms. Focus on your elbows. And let it flow into your upper arms. Feel the free flow of energy flowing in your hands, relaxing your hands. Take another deep breath and let go. Your hands are completely relaxed. Bring your awareness to your shoulders. Feel the energy in your shoulders. Feel the stress melting away. Relax your shoulders. Feel the energy flowing to your neck. Relax your neck. Feel it flow into your jaws. Focus on your jaws. Relax your jaws. Feel the energy flow onto your face. Relax your facial muscles. Feel joy on your face. Come into your temples. Relax your temples. Come into your forehead. Relax your eyebrows. Feel your brain is resting. Your mind is calm. Take another deep breath and let go. Your body is completely relaxed. Bring your awareness to your heart. Feel your heart. Enter your sacred space. Bring yourself to a state of utmost humbleness. Make the intention. Your heart is connected to the cosmic heart of the perfect guide on the planet Earth, who is connected to the ultimate. Where the heart beats, remind yourself with the intention. The source of light is present within you. The light from the source is illuminating your entire being. Your mind is drawn to this light. Your mind is resting in the light. The ocean of light, the ocean of love is in you. You are a drop submerged in this ocean. Rest in the light with utmost reverence. Let's meditate. That's all. Feel the calmness spread throughout your being. From this place of calmness, make the intention. All my senses are in a state of balance. All my senses are in a state of balance. They have arrived at their original character. All the chakras in my system are in a state of balance. They are in harmony with each other. Feel the calmness spread throughout your being. You may open your eyes when you are ready. Thank you all for joining the meditation and the class today. This week's assignment is to practice the practice. And when next week we will go into deeper techniques. And this week we had to explain everything, so it took extra time. From next week we would have a little lesser time on this class. Thank you for joining. We're grateful that all of you joined.